Andrew Tate.
He's starting to get high on his own supply and he believes his own bullshit. If you want to scratch your ego itch, I'll take you there. What about your HMOs?
I've heard your opinions on HMOs.
Do you think they make money? Are they worth the headache? Is the risk worth the return?
I believe there'll become a point where me and you aren't that bothered about business anymore.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another round of 6 Rounds podcast on the Blueprint podcast platform. Today, I am very pleased to be joined with a special guest. So Terry Blackburn's joined us today. He is a very impressive investor, developer, hotelier, restaurateur, author, podcaster, genuinely all-round high performer and nice guy. And today he's come to join me in the studio for 6 rounds. Daniel Hill versus Terry Blackburn. Let's go.
Let's go.
You kick off.
Make it straight in.
Yeah,
straight
let's go.
in. Okay, so AI is a huge topic.
Yeah.
And you come across as one of those people who you seem to be a little bit ahead of the curve in a lot of topics and a lot of situations, certainly property from the content I've listened to you on. So what's your thoughts on AI, and are you currently implementing it into any of your businesses now? And if you fast forwarded 5 to 10 years, what do you believe it will look like, the business and property landscape?
Spot on. So I think the thing with AI, the sort of headlines, the first thing is it's obviously the next buzz. You know, every year there's a new buzz. Last year it was crypto. We had .com boom. There's always something that's the new big thing that everyone wants to get on, and all investors are looking for something. So AI is definitely riding that wave. So the benefit of that is there's obviously something there fundamentally that's going to work. The consideration is similar to blockchain. I'm sure there's something in there for the future, but everyone's going to ride this tailwind, and a lot of people are going to catch a cold. So anything with AI doesn't mean it's a great thing. Optimistically, I think like it combines when we talk about singularity, or Elon Musk talks about at some point this AI robot intelligence will overtake everyone.
Over the world, yeah.
Literally, yeah. And you just think that makes a lot of sense. And what we've done simultaneous to building technology is since 1995 we created the internet. We've literally spent our lives putting every single bit of data and information that ever existed on the internet. So there's obviously something there. What's it actually going to look like? I don't know. I think it's anyone's guess. And I think the immediate thing is there's definitely quick wins. Is it going to take over the world? I don't know. What do you think?
Are you using it in any of your businesses yet?
So we use ChatGPT quite a lot.
Yeah.
So even for creative, you know, I'll sit there sometimes. I actually wrote a marketing campaign once and typed into ChatGPT, how would you create a 12-week marketing program to sell a 3-day event? And it hammered it out in about...
That's good. It's
yeah.
good as well.
Hammered it out in about 30 seconds or 2 minutes. And with the exception of a few bits that I'd missed that I then added back in, it was bang on point. So it was like, I think it's very, very clever. We use that. We use other things that you're seeing coming in now. So do you use Loom at all?
Yeah, well, I've used it before. I don't use it regularly, you know, when you record the videos, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, it's just a very effective means of communication. But now the AI will title it, and then it will chapter it, and it will now transcribe it. And if you're going to write an operations manual, you know, if someone like you and I, you know, we know what we're talking about, but we can't be bothered to sit down and write an ops manual, record it for 3 minutes. It comes out with titles, chapters, all written, a document. You get your EA to put it into an ops manual. That would have taken me a day back in the day. It probably takes me 5-10 minutes now. Magazine articles, even things like Otter AI. So I'll dictate it rather than write it, and that will take me 20 minutes. And they're the sort of things we're using. And there's more advanced stuff for marketing now, obviously, like all this like creation of avatars, stuff like that. I'd say we're not using that just yet. Have you guys started using anything? Yeah,
so ChatGPT 4, same as you. So I've wrote blogs on that, content on that, cold emails, campaigns on that have worked. I've used it for podcast subjects and ideas for my podcast. So I honestly think it's amazing. I've wrote guides with it. I've got a new couple of websites coming out. I've used that for a lot of that. I've used it to create images. I used it to create a website and it wasn't the best. But how quickly it creates a website. There's some of them that literally you just put your business logo, your title, your color scheme, and it literally builds it out in a second.
You know, the image side of things. Have you tried doing the photo? Have you used any of the advanced stuff with actually creating photos?
Not where it makes you into an AI. I haven't done that one.
Or even just like, so I am invested in an AI company, and they came and did a presentation for all of our property entrepreneurs, and they did the whole presentation. And at the end, they said, and they shared all the different tech that you can use. And at the end, they said this one will create photo realistic quality images for whatever you want. You know, it might say, show me a picture of Terry with his top off, eating or drinking whatever you want, and it will do a photo realistic one. And he said through this presentation, every single photo you've seen is of people that doesn't exist. And the whole presentation was like watching a photo album. And he said, I'll create a lodge in Austria with a log fire. And it created this thing that doesn't exist. And it looked like a photograph. And you just think,
that's crazy, mate. It's crazy. And what's it going to be like in 5-10 years time? It's like you said, who knows? It's anyone's guess. But
do you think it will supersede us?
And I was going to bring this up because I've watched 2 interviews that were completely opposing. So one is saying like they're going to take over the world, they're going to kill off humans. You know, they're going to, you know, within 10 years, there's a high probability that is going to happen, is what this interview said. The other one was like, it's only going to enhance the human race and it's going to improve every type of business. And don't get us wrong, I do believe it's going to kill off more jobs than the internet did. I do believe that. But I think the people who adopt it and use it are going to be the winners. And I think 5-10 years time, it's going to be in every business. Surely, it's going to be in every business. And the people who are refusing to use it, I think they're in danger. I believe.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think you've got to embrace it, and the people that do it quickly and do it now are going to move ahead and elevate even further ahead than the people that don't.
It's like people that still aren't using overseas workers. You know, that when you've got that mental block of like, you know, when you're a laggard, like by definition in economics, they're called laggards, people who catch on later. By definition in their head, you know, they are laggards, they come on late. It's because they've got a mental block that it doesn't work. And I have that. So I'm not always a first mover. I'm an early adopter. I let everyone else run at it, see what works, and then I'll start to get on. So I'm not the first one. I haven't gone on Threads. Have you downloaded Threads?
No.
I'm just like, I'm not jumping.
Just another Twitter.
I don't have enough time for fads.
Yeah.
I let everyone do it, and if it sticks, then I'll jump in it.
Yeah.
And it's like VAs. I was like, wasn't the first one to go into VAs, but now we have people all around the world working for us, and they're better than people in the UK, and they're cheaper. So it's like when you go into now a letting agency that's still using paperwork rather than docs, and still having a team of people in administrators in the UK. I suspect there'll be that curve of AI. People who are still paying someone £50 a blog to write a blog, whereas ChatGPT will do it for free.
Seconds, yeah. Do
you think it will like take over? Because the logic is, you know, it is so much cleverer than us, and it's not just replaced. Like I thought initially, it would be high volume work like manufacturing, machinery, robots. But the first thing it's come in for is creative, isn't it? Like it's basically taking all that data and saying, here's the best way to write an email sequence or a blog. Where does it stop?
Where does it stop? I don't think it will stop. I don't think it can, because even if certain industries don't want to use it, there'll always be someone who wants to use it who will take over the people that don't. And I just think it's unstoppable. Did you see that stat about currently? I think this is about a month ago, so it's probably even more advanced now. ChatGPT 4 was more intelligent than any human who's ever lived. So the highest IQ ever was something like 200 and something. It was already at 300 and something. And it said I don't know if this is right, by the way, just my memory, it was something like every X amount of months, it doubles in intelligence. So in 10 years, it'll be 1 billion with a B, 1 billion times more intelligent than any human ever. So what does that create? Can the cure diseases that we can't? Can this solve mysteries that we can't from back in the day? Are they going to come up with loads of new stuff? If they're that much more intelligent, then you start going down a bit of a rabbit hole when you start. But it's not going to stop that. It's doubling whether we like it or not. So like, what does the future hold? It's scary in one sense, but it's also exciting in another, because if we can adapt it into our businesses and property businesses, other types of businesses, other industries, what does that mean?
Do you get more excited or more intimidated by it?
I'm generally optimistic in every part of life, so I'm excited about it.
Nice.
And I do feel like I'll probably be in the top 10% of people who adapt it. I think certain people will never adapt it, regardless what we see or what they learn or what's in the news, they'll never adapt it because they're stuck in their ways and they don't like change. Some people are already adapting it more than us. But I certainly think I'm towards the higher end anyway in terms of quickly adapting it and using it. I'm really open to using it.
That's good.
And I think you have to be.
I think when it drops off, especially with the economy the way it is at the minute, when it drops off and there is that gap between those that do and those that don't, it won't just be a small difference. It will be these guys can still make money. And let's say, for example, we were talking about hotels earlier. You know, costs going through the roof for labour, materials, food, and it's like if AI comes in and can run through the till. Obviously, AI is going to be leveraged by all different companies in their tech, like we said about Loom. If you can put it into your restaurant, and all of a sudden it gives you zero wastage. You need half as many chefs because it doesn't rely on them all knowing how to cook. It says put that item on that grill, or they start to make some of it mechanical. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I think when it does step change, if you don't get on it, it will be visible and it will be significant. It does concern me more than excite me, I think. I think because I'm not a first mover and I don't get excited by that stuff. Like the guys that I know that I've invested in who are running these companies, they absolutely love it. I want to talk about it all day. And I'm just like, crack on, do your thing. But I just think, I'm quite happy with the human race how it is. I quite like log fires, and I quite like.
So do I, by the way.
Yeah, yeah. And you just think, when you say it's the smartest thing that ever existed, of course it is. Like, we pride ourselves on how much we know, right? We've spent our whole lives, like 3 decades, learning stuff, and that's our competitive edge. If now knowing stuff is of zero value because there's an app or a plugin or whatever, and everyone knows everything, it's like, wow, how do we compete now?
My only thought on that is because I've thought about that, and where I think we'll still win is the personality. AI hasn't got a personality. I mean, it might develop one. Who knows?
Have you heard? Well, have you seen the sex bots?
I certainly haven't got one. If that's what you're trying
to
say.
Yeah, well, they're talking about creating these sex bots that literally they do everything you want.
With them.
Yeah, you can do anything you want. They know you. They don't argue with you. They know if you need congratulating. They just create the perfect thing, and it's like.
But surely you don't want a relationship with a fucking robot.
Well, we say that. Well, obviously, yeah. I'm
not saying
a friend told me. That was a good one. I like that. We're going to go into deals. You strike me as someone who does lots of different deals, and I would love to do loads of different deals. Like I find it sexy, exciting, the new thing. I want this and I want that. But I've been really disciplined and sort of same way as maybe my relationships. My relationships last years rather than weeks, and my strategies tend to last a decade rather than a few months because I tend to master one and do it lots of times. You've had lots of exposure to lots of different deals. I'd just really be intrigued in what are the different types of deals you've done, what works well, what you're doing now, what you're not doing. Just tell me about deals.
So started off with buy-to-lets, as most people do, went into HMOs, then into Airbnbs, city centre and more rural, then went into small hotels and then bought a larger hotel, and the larger hotel had a bar and restaurant in it. What you're saying off camera is hospitality is a very challenging gig, that's for sure. Probably the most challenging business I've been involved in. Glamping site, which again is it's Airbnbs, isn't it really, just on a bigger scale, but it's a site with a cafe on site as well. So we bought that business that was operational. So it was already an active cafe, and it had land which we built the glamping pods around it. I was involved in a mortgage brokers and life insurance brokerage from age 24 until last year, which I exited. I've did loads of different things, and I have noticed this about myself. I'm one of those that I get a little bit bored a little bit too easy, and I try the next thing, and I still try and master each thing, and I don't generally jump to the next one before I feel like I've got a good enough, I wouldn't say master, but certainly a good enough understanding where I can delegate and systemize it.
And what attracted you to some of those spaces? Because, like hotels is...
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie.
Is it like an ego piece? Or
part of it, I wouldn't say it's an ego piece. But part of it, I'm not going to lie, part of it is definitely that I want to be perceived to be doing big things. I think anybody that says they don't want to be perceived in a good light, in a positive light in terms of growing as an entrepreneur, I don't think they're telling the truth. If you say you don't want to be perceived in that way, I do. I also still look at the numbers. I still act with logic, not emotion. I still run the numbers quite heavily before I do anything. So yeah, that's what attracted us to it. But I've always also noticed about myself, I like challenges. I do like that. And I do like something new. As long as the numbers back it up and it's looking like a good idea logically, I do like trying new things, sometimes to my detriment.
Yeah.
Um,
That monopoly mindset, by the way, is like we all have that. Like that monopoly
I think
mindset
so,
of
yeah.
like when I started buying private schools, I was like, I can't wait to tell people I'm buying private schools. And then when you've actually bought them, do you find the romance is quite different to the reality?
Definitely with the barn restaurant. Definitely. It was pretty cool to see I've got this big hotel with a barn restaurant in, but then when you started doing weekly P&Ls, and in January, for example, when bars and restaurants are hit heavily anyway, plus you add in the economy, the cost of living and all these other things, and staff costs more, ingredients cost more, electric and gas costs more. When you start looking at the P&Ls, the romance and the buzz definitely dampens it 100%. Because I am a businessman. I'm a businessman more than a property man.
Okay,
that's for
that's
sure.
What would you say your
business is
like
numbers.
favorite type of either favorite type of deals or probably or like most lucrative? Like what deals when you look back over your whole career, what would you say are the deals that have been absolute winners?
The BRR stuff, I just love. I love when that end valuation comes in and you work out your LTV and you can pull out all of your money and then some. Like I think that I like negotiating up front, and I like that side of it and getting the deal. And then when that valuation comes in on the BRR, once you've done the work, that is a mint fee. In my opinion, that is one of the best feelings in property, because you're like, I've just got all my money. That's a free asset. It's going to pay us for however long. That I love. And I've done loads of them, 30 odd maybe.
You still doing them now? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I've done a little bit. I'm doing less deals this year because I've had some big ones obviously ongoing, and I need to get the glamping site. I need to get the hotel, the bar and restaurant.
What's
profitable.
the finance like in that space? Like I watched all of your site get developed on obviously through Instagram and stuff like that, and obviously it looks world class. But I was thinking like you must have an investor in for that, like or are you using your own cash? Because like I can't imagine how you'd fight. Like we used to have a glamping company. I was just thinking I can't imagine, but yours is like really big compared to ours.
Yeah.
Like how do you finance something like that?
So this is definitely a downside of it. So we agreed the site in 2021.
Do you own it or lease it?
Own it, yeah.
Okay,
so
nice.
we bought the cafe and the land.
How much land?
1.9 acres.
Okay.
So yeah, we bought that when rates were great. To get that money, said in principle we'll do the exit, and this is when base rate was 0.1 or whatever it was. By the time we finished the build opened in February this year, obviously the world is completely different. Commercial lenders wouldn't touch it. Everyone's now saying 1 or 2 years books. So if I had to look at private finance options, it was exactly the same as the hotel. The two biggest deals I've ever done was both at the same time, both when commercial lending just went down the pan. So I actually had to get a private investor to do a first charge on the hotel, because all the main banks are either you're talking 10+%, or I managed to get 8% from a private investor to take a first charge. But most are saying you need at least 1 year's books. Most need 2.
I mean, commercial market at the minute is literally the red zone.
Ruined.
It's like
It's ruined.
we've had schools. I've had school deals we pull out from. I've had companies I've been selling. Just had to pull out of private offices, commercial lenders. Even if they're charging 12, 13, 14%, at the last minute pull out from ridiculous things. They just don't want to do. They just don't want to take the risk.
Don't want
do
it,
they?
yeah, exactly.
But I mean, that's going to be short term. That'll mean commercial prices will just tank. Everyone will come back in and get more confidence, and then hopefully commercial. Susie Carter, who's one of our board members, she says she's been in commercial for like 20+ years, knows it inside out. She says it's like one of the first to drop, but it's also one of the first to come back. So it's like there's definitely deals to be done. But that's reassuring, because I did look at it thinking I have no idea how I would do a deal like that right now. What about your HMOs?
I've heard your opinions on HMOs. Love them, then I hate them, kind of thing. But I still like them. I don't.
Do you think they make money? Are they worth the headache? Is the risk worth the return?
In my opinion, in the way I've structured them, they are for me, just because I don't get involved in any of the management. I've got girls in-house to do all of the management. I don't get involved in the tenant in and out and the void and all of that. I don't get involved. They negotiate on my utility contract. They do everything. So I just do a monthly P&L. That's all I do with the buy-to-lets and HMOs. But I definitely get your point. And a lot of the things you're saying, I believe are right, is like the voids, the tenant fine fees every time they're in and out. They're not as good as buy-to-lets, in my opinion.
Well, that's a good that's interesting to know. Was that your stance? You think buy-to-lets are better?
Now, for my stage in my life and my career, I would prefer, if I could have 100 buy-to-lets or 100 HMOs, I would have 100 buy-to-lets.
Yeah, banging. Well, that's the interest. That is the key point for anyone listening. Is when I say I hate HMOs, it's like now at my stage in my journey, I can't think of anything worse. But at the beginning, I had 200 rooms myself, and the idea of making 10 grand a month was like, this is amazing. I'm happy with the tenants drinking each other's milk. Yeah. Nowadays, I'm like, I would rather have 1 grand a month.
Definitely, and less hassle.
Yeah. But it's part of the course, right?
And that's what I like about your contact. I like the fact that you say you go through that, getting the HMOs to get the cash flow up, and then once you've got it at that stage, then you don't need any more. But a lot of people don't, and me included. I just kept going and going and going with the HMOs.
So I ended up with 1,000 rooms, and I made less money at 1,000 rooms than I had at 500, 400. So it's like
scaling's not always the answer, and that's a really good point. I know you've talked about that before, and I think a lot of people don't realise this. And even if you tell them it at the start of your journey, you won't agree with it.
Yeah,
you just won't until you've got the rounds under your belt, until you've got the experience. You actually realise, it's good to have a mixture. I do like to diversify, hence all the different things that I do, because I'm de-risking myself by doing other stuff. But definitely, if I had to choose buy-to-lets or HMOs, it would be buy-to-lets.
Yeah, interesting. And more revenue doesn't mean more profit. Like as businesses grow, it's more overheads, and it's definitely like the yield compresses. But equally, like we were talking about the monopoly mindset. Like I'm invested in a company at the minute, and they want to go national, and I'm like, guys, if you want to make money, we stay where we are. We go to the next step. If you want to scratch your ego itch, I'll take you there. I guarantee it's going to be ball ache. You're going to have scars. It's going to make less money. It's going to be stressful. But if you've got to do it, you've got to do it. I'm sure you felt like that. Like, in fact, like you said before we kicked off, you're shifting gears now, but you've only done that because you've got it out your system. You couldn't have changed gears 3 years ago, 5 years ago, could you?
I mean, Bespoke Financial, which I exited last year, had over 120 self-employed sales staff, not just that, sales staff. So you know what they're like. It was mental. And at the time when you're in it, I was like, I love this.
Well,
then honestly, it was for majority of so I set up 2014, exit. So what's it, 9 years, 9 years. Certainly for 75% of that, I loved it.
Exactly.
And towards the end of it, I felt like I was coming to an end of it, and I wanted different things, and I didn't want the hassle. I didn't want the constant, that phone never stopped ringing. You can imagine.
Yeah. It's exactly what we had.
It's full on. But that's just your evolution as a businessman or businesswoman, isn't it?
And that's half the fun. We're not entrepreneurs to do the same thing day in, day out. It'd be interesting to explore what profile you are, but maybe we will or won't come to that. Right, over to you. Nice round.
So, controversial one.
Okay.
So, Andrew Tate.
Okay.
If he's probably, certainly from what I can see, he's pumping out more content than I've ever seen anybody do. Certainly over the last couple of years, he's went to the most Googled man on the planet. And a lot of his message, I must admit, I agree with. Certain things I definitely don't. But what's your views on Andrew Tate?
Probably, from the headline you've given there, I mean, it's a really good example. There's people in the property industry that are fantastic marketeers. You think, how on earth do people follow them? How on earth are they doing deals? How on earth are they selling courses? But it's like, they're good at marketing. So Andrew Tate is the self-proclaimed most Googled man on the planet. I don't know if anyone's ever backed that up, but it's part of the game, right? What's your claim to fame? Like in Nottingham, the Canal House, it's called the Nottingham's biggest canal fronted bar, which nobody's actually questioned the fact that it's Nottingham's only canal-sided bar. So it's like, you've got to play the game with that. I think Andrew Tate's like, I'd agree. I listen to some of his stuff and actually find it quite motivating and quite inspiring because it is quite against the current. The fact that you're a man, you want to go out and provide for your family. You want to be a warrior, if you like, in his words. You want to be strong. You want to go into battle. You want to feel good. You don't want to, it doesn't matter how sort of, I don't know if cosmopolitan's the right word, but how like 2023 we are. We don't really, a lot of us don't really want to be crying into pillows and like getting soft. We want to be well-rounded and connected, and we don't want to be alpha males when we're not. But, you want that stuff. But I like a lot of the things he says. Equally, he says things that are polarising, and he probably crosses the line. But then you've got some academics coming up now. There's some topics recently. Obviously, he really pushes the envelope when he talks about relationships with women, physical, mental engagement, conflict, abuse, other topics which are like, I probably wouldn't even table. And it's on face value, it's really crossing the line. But there's actually other academics now coming back around who are like, these are like long-standing veterans of personal development psychology supporting some of the stuff that he's saying. So it's like, I would say some of it is there's that thing as well, the difference between masculinity and like, is it misogyny? It's like understanding the difference. And I think it's controversial for a reason. I think there's value in there. I think what he's done is pretty impressive, but equally there's no smoke without fire. And if he was in prison in Romania, then released on house arrest, my understanding is now he's been charged. It's like maybe he's being completely manipulated and the Matrix has got him, or maybe, you know, he's starting to get high on his own supply and he believes his own bullshit and he's crossed the line and it's, you know, it's coming home to roost. So that's my view. What's yours?
Yeah, I think like pretty similar to yours. I think the main thing I get from him and the main thing that really, really stuck with me was when he says things like, regardless how you feel, whether you're happy, sad, upset, depressed, ecstatic, however you feel,
get shit done.
Get it done. And that was honestly, when he said that, I was like, that is so good, that, because some people don't go to the gym when they are lacking energy or they're tired.
Oh, you and I mean, how many times do we say, oh, I'm having a bit of a slow day today, or like, but
well, yeah, but that happens to everybody. If you think that you're never going to have days when you're lacking energy or you're tired, then you're deluded. Everyone has those type of days. But the difference between, I believe, one of the differences between the elite and the average will be people that the elite just do what is needed to be done, regardless of how they feel. And I think that's such an important message. And he says, go to the gym, healthy body, healthy mind, have a strong mindset, an iron mind. All of that I completely agree with. Completely agree with. He's big into making money. He's big into, he says a couple of things similar to what you said about taking money off the table. Like, don't leave it in the business bank account, because it just gets reinvested or spent at some point, doesn't it? And a lot of people get that wrong. And he talks about that. He talks about speed. If you've got an idea, do it. Don't procrastinate. Run with it. Honestly, I think there's so many things that he says that are absolutely bang on and people need to hear. But obviously then he says things that are controversial on purpose to elevate himself and his influence. But I've got to admire him for that. And obviously if he's done anything wrong, then obviously that changes my view on him. But I don't think he has.
He was like 3 or 4 times world champion kickboxer.
Yeah.
You know, that is not achieved without
discipline, hard work.
I mean, the basics of it are, it's discipline, it's hard work, it's getting up and not doing what you have to do, not because you want to. Like, I had to be in the studio today at 9, so my driver picked me up at 7:30. My missus is away, so I was out walking the dog at 6. I had 2 deadlines to hit, which I was doing at 5, which means I had to get up at 3:30. And it's like, I wouldn't do that every day. I didn't want to do it, but in my head it was like, I can't not walk the dogs. I can't miss the deadline. I can't not have my breakfast. It's like, you do what you got to do and you get it done. Whereas that would have been a perfect example where I thought, oh, it'd be fine. Leave it till tomorrow.
But some people would. I think most people actually would have not done what you've just said there. I think most people would set one of those things off and get up a little bit late. Oh, they just think I've got too much on. I can't do this.
But that's why we're sitting here, isn't it?
Well, yeah, exactly. But if more people heard that message, I believe it would. It's not going to change everyone. Some people are just destined for...
Do you think it would... So this is a really good question, because I listen to it for motivational stuff. If I'm going to the gym...
I do, yeah.
And I'm not up for a workout, I'll listen to Joe Rogan or I'll listen to Andrew Tate talking about just get shit done, turn up, even if it's... And sometimes, like on Saturday, I was absolutely exhausted from the week. I'm doing a weight cut. I didn't have the energy to do a leg workout. I thought, fuck it, I'm going to get up. I'm going to have my breakfast. I'm going to go down there, regardless of the fact I didn't want to do it. And it turned out to be one of my best workouts, like in the last few weeks. I was like, this is crazy. Get it done.
And it will. And a lot of people say that the workouts that you do like that are the ones where you really get results, where you really actually grow, or you change, or you lose weight, or whatever. It's the times when you don't want to do it and you push yourself to do it. I honestly think that's the difference between a lot of the elite and the average. And if you can adapt that in every part of your life, not just fitness, if you're in sales, like the worst part about sales, I have a heavy sales background. I love sales, everything about it. The worst part about sales is ringing new clients or cold calling. It's hard on the phone. It is hard because you get loads of rejection, loads of negativity. But if you only made those calls when you felt good, you wouldn't be a very good salesperson. So you can apply that to sales as well. You can apply it to if you don't want to have a conversation with an angel, or you don't want to go and do viewings, or you don't want to do your research, you don't want to sack a member of staff. If you know that you need to, you just got to get it done regardless how you feel about it. You've got a duty to your own business and your own goals to do it.
Yeah, and the outcome is you end up with these life skills of, for people who are listening, this is the first time you and I have ever met personally.
Yeah.
But you've just rolled into the studio, don't know anyone here, confident, engaging, because it's not an unfamiliar environment to you. Meeting new people, you've made yourself uncomfortable so many times. Something like this is a piece of cake. You're not ringing an angel up trying to win 8%, 2 million quid because you can't get commercial lending.
Exactly.
It develops you as a person till you get that genuine confidence where you trust yourself. You know you can do things. Pulling it back to your topic, do you reckon Andrew Tate is legit?
Legit in what sense?
I suppose like not necessarily on the like has he crossed the line? More like there's always a difference between the perception and the reality. And he talks about making hundreds of millions of dollars a year. And I did hear, I thought that was inflated, and I thought it was just this classic, beating his own chest. But I did hear when he got nicked, they confiscated like £350 million worth of crypto. And I was thinking, that is, if he's achieved that legit, that is very impressive. Yeah. If that's true.
I think there's a decent probability that he's done some sketchy things in his past, because he's got casinos in Romania. That industry is you just kind of assume, rightly or wrongly, that there's a little bit of shadiness somewhere in that game, don't you? And he's had webcam studios. You assume that there's a little bit of shadiness involved in that.
But even to get up to that 350 million,
it's like... Yeah. He bought a lot of Bitcoin, didn't he, when it went right down, and he actively promoted that. And
that's playing the game, isn't it? So
yeah, I must admit, I don't do Bitcoin. I've never even done it. Don't understand it, so I didn't do it. But he done that, and he actively promoted. There's videos where he said you should be buying now, when he bought when it was at 4,000 or whatever it was at, and he 10x'd it. So I do think there's definitely huge elements of what he says is legit and right. And I think anybody who gets to that stage of wealth, you've got to admire and you've got to give them credit for it. And obviously the only time that wouldn't apply is if it was dodgy, if he's done something that's untoward or screwed people to get that amount of money. But I don't think he has, my opinion.
Nice. Yeah, I think a good one. It's definitely a controversial topic, but equally, you and I clearly got value from listening to some of it. You got to go into these things with your eyes open.
Yeah, man.
Right, next one. We've had some crossover with the ones that we've just talked about. So I'm going to go for... let's have a chat about life. So life... the game, family, going through the motions, like with regards to like the way you live your life, what goes on in your head, your attitude to family life, business. Give me some insight.
What goes through my head? I've got 4 kids. And
was that always the part of the vision, or
no? Definitely not. Definitely not. I love my kids to bits, by the way. I wouldn't change them. But honestly, I know you haven't got kids, so you can't really comment too much on the kid thing, but like, I honestly believe it's harder than any business, even harder than hospitality. It is, honestly, it's so hard. I'd be worth easily 3, 4, 5, 10 times more than what I'm worth now if I didn't have kids. But I wouldn't change that. They become your reason why, or part of your reason why. I would never say something like, my kids are my world. People say that. I don't know. They're not my whole world. That implies that I've got nothing else going on in my world. Like, they are part of my world, yeah? And I love them to bits, and I want the best for them. And one thing about kids, someone said to us, and this really struck a chord, was the last third of your life, when you have children, is filled with life. So your kids are having kids, you become a granddad or a grandmom or whatever. It's full of parties, christenings, events, birthdays, and all of that. Whereas if you don't have kids, the last third of your life, so 60 to 90 or whatever it is filled with death, because all your friends are dying. You're going to get probably ill. Your partner's probably going to get ill. Everyone you know is getting ill. And that really struck a chord with me, because I'm really looking forward, not that I'm wishing my life away, I'm looking forward to the period where they're older and they can bring their partners to the house, they have kids and all of that family life, because I believe there'll become a point where me and you aren't that bothered about business anymore. We'll still be interested in it, but not maybe as much as we are now. And I think with age, that happens to pretty much everybody. Yeah, you don't want to be left with, if that's your only interest, then it goes. Yeah. It's like if you're a sports person, it's the only thing you do and you get injured. It's like, right, now what? Drinking drugs. That's pretty much where they all end up. They get depressed and they get, exactly. Pulling out a couple of bits that you said about, so, if you hadn't have had kids, you'd be worth 3 or 4 times. In your life and mindset, where does that come as a barometer of like when you think about net worth and how much you're worth and how big the game you're playing is? How much of that is important to you, or where does it come into your life? It was definitely more important at the start. And I must admit, like, I'm always honest. At the start, the only reason I got into business and property was money.
Yeah.
I wanted to be rich. I'm not going to lie to anybody. That is the sole reason. It was not because I enjoyed selling life insurance and then none of that, like helping the clients and all that. I've got to be honest. Like, it was just about money. So then when you get into property, it's you know the postcode of every property, don't you? You know, you do the refurbs yourself, or you do everything yourself. You're dead hands on, and you monitor your cash flow, and you get up to a stage where it's normally 10 properties or it's $3,000 a month or something like that, isn't it? Everyone wants that first. And then it becomes less and less about the money. And once you get to a stage where there's more than enough money coming in for you to live comfortably and do what you want and have your holidays and whatever, it becomes less about that. So
what does it become about?
That's down to the person, I
Or
believe.
you.
For me personally,
Yeah.
it's changed quite a bit, but only up until last year, until I had my youngest child. I wanted to get to 1,000 properties by the time I was 45, up until I had the baby. Now that I couldn't be further from what I want. I definitely don't want 1,000 properties. I would take 1,000 buy-to-lets, but the amount of effort that is going to require to get there, I don't think I need to go that big.
And do you think that was your sort of vision and aspiration, was that you wanted to own 1,000, and like when you got there, it would be, you know, finally would have made it, or was it more you just needed a target to set, so you did it? So it just took you on that journey.
Yeah, I definitely need a target. At the start, I did think when I get to 10 properties, I'm done, I'm retired, I'm set, I don't need to work anymore. But you're young. Normally you're young when you're at that stage of thinking like that. But definitely it's just a target now, because I don't think when I get there, probably if I did really go for 1,000, I'd probably get to 800 or 900, and then I'd want 2,000 or 5,000.
Of course.
You always move the goalpost before you score the goal,
Yeah.
kind of thing. So it's not really about that. I'm a salesperson. That's how I started to make good money, and that's my DNA. Sales. I love everything about it, and salespeople need a target. So I need a target in my personal life. I need a target.
What targets have you got at the minute? If we're parking 1,000 rooms.
Yeah, so property-wise or business-wise, we're talking
Well,
here?
just throw some out: fitness, health, life.
So it's changed.
Kids.
It's changed again. No more kids. That's it. 4 is the max.
I swear you said that
Definitely.
when we spoke. You interviewed me a couple of years ago, and I'm sure you said 3 then.
Yeah.
I thought you said that was it.
Yeah,
How did you?
yeah.
Was it planned that you thought?
No, it wasn't planned. No.
Okay,
So
fine.
I've got 2 kids to my ex-partner.
Yeah.
And Louise, my partner, has got a son to her ex-partner.
Yeah.
So then we had one together. So it was the
Nice.
right thing to do, having one together, because she's definitely the one and all that. We're going to go and get married and do all that thing. So it was right to have one together, but we've firmly said no more.
Cool.
Like no
Nice.
more. I don't want to get the snip, but no more.
Cool. And then targets then.
So yeah,
sort of business, life.
So targets, I've got a profit target across all companies for the year. A little bit behind target, I must admit. But we won't be far off it. Property wise, I actually don't have a property target this year. So this year for me was very much about getting me sleep back on track after the baby.
Yeah.
I want to get in the best shape I've ever been in, which I'm probably in now, and make all the businesses profitable. And I've just put a new target, and I want to make X amount of money from online.
Okay.
So whether that's courses, coaching, content, I've got a target. So a lot of my focus is on that right now. But they are all specific targets. It's monetary. It's a target that I want to get to.
And just to confirm, like you said about salespeople, it's all part of the game. Is that just part of the game? You love playing the game of business, and it's like, right, what game shall I play this year? Or is there a degree of elusive there of like, oh, this will make me happy, and then you do it or you don't do it, and then it's like, right, no, I'm going to do this year.
I definitely don't chase happiness from business, because I've learned it. I don't think when you sell a business, don't get us wrong, it's a nice moment, but it's short-lived. I don't think a business can make you happy. I think if you're looking for a business to make you happy, I think that you're setting yourself up for a fail. So I don't think like that. No, I just think I want to just keep doing things that I enjoy with people that I like and enjoy working with. Although sometimes you've got to do things you don't want to do, like Andrew Tate said.
Yeah.
But I just want to do what I want on my terms, and as long as I'm making good money and progressing. I love the feeling of progression. I don't know about you. Progression makes me happy, but I'm not chasing happiness. I'm chasing progression.
And which part of it is it having progressed, or is it you enjoy the growth process of learning new things and being challenged?
Yeah, I think I enjoy the process. Yeah, I think that's something that you want to try and do. If you focus on the end goal too much, you lose track of what you're doing, and and when you get there, normally it's nowhere near as good as you think, and it's not actually what you think it is. So if you enjoy the process along the way, so I love going to the gym. I absolutely love it. I would never stop going to the gym unless I physically can't. I love going to the gym. And yes, I want my body to look a certain way, and I focus on that to a degree, but I enjoy going to the gym and doing my sets and doing my reps and trying to get stronger or trying to get faster or whatever, trying to beat times or whatever it may be.
Do you ever find do you ever cross over so for example, that like head into an obsession? So let's say we both of us do content, we both run our platforms, and like I've got loose targets that we're heading towards, and I'm putting effort in to get there. But if I had more time, which I'll start to get because we're at the end of sales season now, I could easily start obsessing of like how many were saved, how many were shared, and like, but it'll get to a point where it's no longer enjoyable. I'm not doing it for like, this is enjoyable, it's fun. Like, I was looking forward to doing this today.
Likewise.
But I could easily start obsessing with it and starting to find ways to try and refine it and become obsessed with it. Do you ever let that with your training or your business or your targets take over?
I would say that I'm obsessed with self-development. I would say, like, I don't listen to music in the car. I listen to, if I'm not making calls, I'm listening to audio. When I'm in the shower, I've got a YouTube video or audio. All I do is, not all I do, but I love listening to people and learning things from people who've done more than me. I absolutely love it. And that's just, so I would say that's an obsession. It's a healthy one.
Yeah. Who do you, just to close off, well, two questions. One is, who do you follow and listen to? So we both talked about Andrew Tate, Joe Rogan. Who else falls into your sphere of or platforms like Diary of CEO?
I mean, it changes all the time, as you know. You kind of like focus on someone and consume loads of their content, and then dies off a little bit. You go to the next person. But I like Stephen Bartlett. I like Grant Cardone, although he's very American. I like Andrew Tate. I'm listening to a lot at the moment. Joe Rogan's unreal. I love the different types of topics, the pyramids and all that stuff. Like, if you watch that stuff, you'll go down a rabbit hole. It was Brian Tracy was one of the originals. Yeah, you know, his stuff's unreal and it still applies to today. But I change it all the time. I listen to
Jim Rohn's. Like, have you ever listened to Jim Rohn's stuff?
Oh, unreal!
Absolutely world class.
He's the OG. Isn't
he is.
He's like, and he taught a lot of the current people, and a lot of the stuff that people say now is just slightly tweaked from what he said back then. I don't know if he got it from anybody else. I don't know if he was the originator of some of that type stuff, or he got it from. But read the Daily Stoic, like some of the stuff, and there's like hundreds of years old. So did Jim Rohn just get it off them? It's all kind of passed down and tweaked, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of repurposing models, but also it's like the basic practice of success and failure very predictable. The stuff that worked 2,000 years ago in the Tao Te Ching that meant you had a good life and you were happy. You boil it through however many centuries, and it still applies. You know, it's like be happy with. The aim of the game is to be happy with less, not wanting more. It's like, and then just final one on life. You talked about kids. Kids are very much part of your life, but they're not your whole world. What would you say your priorities are when you think about, like, how many priorities do you have that you focus on in your life, and what order do they go in?
Health and fitness, 100% first. Nothing will change that ever, because you can't be a good dad or a good partner or a good business owner if you're unhealthy and you're unfit. You can't be. So health and fitness has to come first. It's the first thing that goes in my diary. Second, relationship with my partner. Probably kids next, and then success after that. But it's probably the wrong way. Certainly earlier on, I would almost say that money and success came first. So I sacrificed health and fitness and relationships and kids and the pursuit of money. But that's definitely changed.
I think fair play to you. I like the transparency and frankness of the conversation we're having, and also it's I wouldn't say it's controversial, but it's not what a lot of people would say. But the people that I know that have similar values to us, that's very much how they run their lives. And it doesn't mean they're not a great parent or family man. It actually means they're a great parent and family man because they're satisfied. They're doing their thing, and it's all well balanced. Nice, you're up.
Last one is, I've already kind of talked a little bit about sales, but you come across, just to compliment you, I think your podcasts are great. I think the way you speak is really good. I think the way you break things down, analogies and certain things, the way you present things is really good.
Thank you.
So you're definitely good at sales.
Thank you.
So sales for me is, if you could pick one skill that anybody could have or that you could perfect, I believe sales would have the biggest impact. If you're just looking at a business and property perspective, sales would have the biggest impact on anybody in terms of the amount of success that you achieve. So how important is sales to you, and just your thoughts on sales? And I suppose, do you do anything to perfect your sales skills or anything like that?
So this is a fantastic topic, and the workshop that we teach at the minute this time of year is called Sales Solves Everything, and it basically means, you know, if you can turn the tap on, you can stay in business. You can have the best systems, the best product, whatever. If the till's not ringing, you're not going to make money. So that's good to know. Equally, I would say in business, I don't think it's the most valuable skill, or at least it doesn't play to my strengths. So I'm not a natural salesperson. I would say for me, I would say it's definitely your superpower, and you're happy going out sales. You can rally a sales team. You probably, have you done wealth dynamics? You know what profile you are?
Yeah.
You're Blaze.
I think it was Blaze. Yeah, it was a while back that I done it.
Well, you
pretty sure it was. Are you Blaze? Because I remember I listened to your podcast and you told us you were talking about it. So I'd done the test online, and it was the same one. You was a Blaze.
I know I'm a Dynamo, so
I think it might have been the same as you then.
So it's sort of playing to our strengths, and I would say if you're into sales, it may be lots of Blazers are into sales, meeting people, etc., doing deals. Very sort of extroverted, connection, transaction, magnifying activity. I would say for me, it's more about strategy. Like, people can show me businesses, teams, whatever. All I care about is the strategy. Show me the business model, show me the market, show me the pricing. Like, I'm just obsessed with finding a model that actually works. Because like we talked about earlier, not all business models work. And we want to find that needle in the haystack where, like I posted on my Instagram at the weekend, Centre Parks are doing 42% net profit. And to be in hospitality in 2022, 23,
net, not gross.
Net profit.
Net
Profit. To be doing that, you just...
No wonder the prices are so high.
Yeah, exactly. And always full. That was the whole article. How have they created an environment where people are living in sheds, lodges?
Fair play.
Yeah. It's always, it's ridiculously expensive for the middle class. Like, it's pitched for the middle class, and they're always full. So I would say for me, it's strategy. With regards to... Go on.
Sorry, I was just going to jump in there. But it's part of the strategy not to sell the product or service. Surely sales is the biggest part of the strategy.
Well, I think the reality is most entrepreneurs are spending their life building businesses that don't make money because they're running around. They know how to sell. If you can, in 2023 in the UK, if you can do anything half decent, you'll put food on the fridge. You'll make sales. The whole economy is undersupplied. All of us are using rubbish chefs, rubbish trades, rubbish suppliers, because it's like you don't really have an option. The market's so tight. I would say it's not an issue to make the tills ring and turn the tap on. The challenge is it a business that after you've paid all your expenses and the money's gone out, is there any water left in the bucket to have it as a business? And I would say there's a reason 95% of businesses don't make profit, and it's because they're not needle in a haystack. So I would say, I just wanted to register that as a point. As far as sales go, do I sort of practice it or refine it? Not really. I think there's like two parts: there's sales and marketing. And I find marketing is always the same tricks, just different tools. And what we've used the last 10 years has been social media, email marketing, funnels, flash sales, oversubscribe strategy. And it continues to work. But every year there's new tools. So it's like this year we're using stealth webinars, recorded webinars rather than live webinars. And you got now different platforms and funnels and different ways to sponsor. We've gone 10 years ago, we were using direct mail and getting nothing because everyone was spamming everyone's letterbox. Nowadays, you send a direct mail out, gets huge response rate because nobody's doing it. So that's like the marketing side, which I think is definitely changes. But sales for me is always... actually, the podcast episode I recorded before this was called 7-Figure Sales. And it's the blueprint that we use, which is RSC, which is rapport, sales conversation, and close. And it's never really changed. I think that's the process that we use. And I think the biggest thing is don't try and sell salt to slugs. Don't try and sell crap to people because it's always going to be a hard slog. Whereas if you can create a world-class product, put it out in front of people who actually want it, develop rapport, have a sales conversation, and then actually ask for the sale and close, then it tends to work. That's pretty much my position on it. What about yours?
Yeah, I mean, I could talk about sales on it all day, to be honest. I just think it's for some reason, certainly my perception of what the marketplace thinks about sales is kind of looked down upon, or it's deemed not that important, or a lot of salespeople are looked at as pushy salespeople That's maybe because of, remember PPI? Remember all the calls we used to get on that?
Yeah.
That was horrific. Double glazing salespeople, car salespeople, nothing against it if you're listening and that's what you do. But a lot of those people are perceived to be pushy salespeople. So then sales is kind of overlooked and it's looked down upon. And I think sales is one of the highest paid industries and jobs you can get. So if you're stuck in a 9 to 5 and you want a way out, getting good at sales, you could go into another sales job where you can get commission, where you can, a lot of the time, uncapped. You can earn yourself a good living by getting good at sales. But it's not just about money. If you want to go to this restaurant and your missus wants to go to this restaurant, whoever wins is sold why they should go to that restaurant, right? So, because if you and your missus go to the restaurant you wanted to, you've said to her something good about this restaurant to make her go to this one. If you end up going to her restaurant, she's sold to you why you should go to this restaurant, right? Selling courses, books, even someone to listen to this podcast, you've done something for them to make a decision to listen to you in the future, right? That might be the way you've marketed it. It might be your strategy, but you're selling your ideas, your concepts, your whatever for them to come back. So everybody is in sales all of the time, whether you like it or think about it or not. These headphones, these microphones. So someone's probably did a video on YouTube about why this microphone is good. Somebody's then watched it and he's sold why this one is good. Reviews are selling. If you go and read reviews, they are saying why it's good or bad. They're selling why you shouldn't buy it or why you should.
Have you followed much of Alex Hormozy's stuff? As he's been on a bit of a come up.
He is unreal.
Yeah, so he's
I definitely follow
it.
his that $100 million offers is unbelievable. What a book.
Well, 100 million leads is coming out in August. And it's like, if you listen to that, it's literally, well, it's what we do. Spend time giving away content for free and then registering interest, looking for signals, not sales. And it's like, and I completely agree with what you said. It's one of the highest paid roles. Like our sales team earn tens of thousands, if not into the six figures. It's very well paid. If you can make me £1 million a year or £2 million a year, will I pay you 100 grand, 200 grand, $250,000? Of course.
100%.
Like, why would you not? So it's a very, 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 very well paid role. And you'll never go broke if you can sell.
Exactly. And you can move from company to company. If you don't want to do it yourself, you'll work your way up. Any organization, if you go to your CEO or your director and you say, if I bring in this much new business, can I get this much of it? Most business owners, one of my staff said that to me, I would entertain that conversation, definitely. Because like you say, there's good salespeople. There shouldn't be a cost to salespeople in your organization. They should be bringing in well over and above what it costs to employ them.
100%.
And pay a commission. So getting good at recruiting salespeople is a different thing.
And keeping them. Obviously, salespeople are always onto the next thing, up to the next level. I made you, I earned 50 grand last year. I need to be making 100 grand this year. There's that franchisee's remorse where they come in and they think you're the best thing since sliced bread. For the first 6 months, you take the hit on their package. Then they start making their money and they get their return. And then after that,
was the other way.
They put the gun to your head and like, I'm making you all this money now. And you're like, oh, you forgot about like 2 years ago. And they're like, oh yeah, well, it doesn't matter anymore, does it?
They've got a short memory, sales stuff.
Yeah.
Our experiences with 100 odd of them, you can imagine everyone wants to grow their own branch or do their own business. Or
do you find they write their own narrative as well? They they can create whatever story they want around. Obviously, it's good for sales.
Because they're selling you the story, though.
Yeah. It's like,
if they're really good, it's convincing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it is. And they convince themselves. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
It's like, but
100%.
It's very high value. You couldn't run a business without them. I don't understand. Like, you obviously love sales. I really don't like sales. I would say it's actually my weakness. If you look at like strategy, product, service, whatever, I would say like sales is probably one of my weakest because I don't really enjoy doing that. Like not at all. Well, I don't really enjoy doing it, but I'll do it when I have to. Although, we're running events this week. I'm not even at the event, let alone being on the sales team. So, but I was going to say, with regards to the mindset of a salesperson, do you think the salespeople actually love it? Do they love being in that role, love being driven, zero basic, high targets? Like
some of them do, yeah. I certainly loved it for a big period of time, and I would openly say I will do this for the rest of my life.
Is it like a young guns game?
To a degree, yeah.
No kids, 6 figures a year.
Yeah, I mean, I
drinking
think
bottles of Bolly at the weekend.
I think energy levels from younger people are typically higher. So energy does come into play with sales 100% because to pick up the phone and get loads and loads of rejection and told to F off and all of that, it takes a certain type of person to deal with that much rejection and still pick up the phone and still keep going. You develop a really tough skin. So that's definitely part of the mindset. Young people are if you looked at all salespeople, typically young people will do better than older people. But it depends on your market and what you're selling. So if you're selling funeral plans, for example, or wills, because we used to do that, as well as life insurance. If you're selling a will to someone, you couldn't, as a 20-year-old kid, you couldn't go and sit down with a 60-year-old and talk to them about what they want in the funeral. Yeah, there's got to be a common ground. And that comes onto a point of people buy off people who are the same as them, and people buy off people who are so people buy off people that they like, first of all, and then they buy off people who are the same as them. So imagine if someone knocked on your door tonight and he was a goth, for example, black hair, black nail varnish, nose rings, look completely different to you, right? Even if they were the best salesperson in the world and the best product in the world, instantly you think, oh, don't you? As soon as you open the door, you think, oh, don't you? No matter what, before they open the mouth. Because people subconsciously wanted people who are similar to them. Whereas if I knocked on your door, someone else who was dressed similar or looked similar knocked on your door, it's not, it's, what's this about?
Yeah,
it's
nice.
different, isn't it?
I don't envy the roller coaster of salespeople. Like, they have a great week and then the worst week of their life, and you've got to play that game of managing their energy levels, because it is a roller coaster. Equally, I would say, just from that limited conversation, if you don't choose to niche down in sales, you definitely could, because you know that stuff and get passionate about it better than most people that I know. So, and I don't know anyone else apart from like the big, like Alex Hormozy and that, and Grant Cardone that are banging it on. But sales in property, like, you could absolutely smash that.
Appreciate that.
Right, last but not least, we're going to go for a nice sort of reflective one to finish. We're going to look at lessons learned. So we've both been in this game for a long time. When we remember things, we tend to create mantras. We've shared a few of them, mindsets, so that we try not to forget them. For the people that are listening, for the last 10 minutes, for the last round, what sound bites do you literally live and die by? You've learned the hard way because they cost you 10 grand or £1 million, and now you live and die by them, and we can share them with other people in the hope that they will achieve, it will fast track their progress.
Are we talking about business and property in life yet? Or just all different
business,
ones?
life, money, property.
One that jumped to mind when you said that straight away was logic, not emotion. So I think far too many people act on emotion, or they act on ego, their glossy Instagram photos because they want a hotel or they want a glamping site. The amount of messages I get about the glamping site, and I say, don't do it. Don't do it. And you've had one. I didn't actually know that. You've had one and you no longer have it.
Yeah, we closed it down. Yeah, we sold it.
It's a hard gig. So yes, I think act with logic, not emotion, and make sure you do the numbers first. Don't get yourself into a business partnership, a joint venture with someone who you don't really know, just because something's dangled in front of you of a potential this or potential that. You've got to sometimes take a step back. Don't rush certain decisions like that. Certainly getting into business with people, because I've been in businesses that haven't went well, and I've been in businesses that went well with other business partners involved, and money changes to people and time changes people. So it might be all rosy now, but they might change, or you might change with time.
Yeah,
and
I think that's good.
If you become really successful financially, that might change them or you. Or on the flip side, if you're doing really well and you're in a joint venture, they could go bankrupt. That impact you.
A similar one is economics over ego. So it's like loads of people in property, especially the young guns, are running around doing deals that don't make money because they'll make great Facebook posts. Like crazy. Ego over economics. With the emotion one as well, one that when we are younger in our career, or people who are less self-aware and perhaps are less logical and more emotional, is if you think about this is like a spiritual one from back in the day, and it says much like the weather, it says observe your emotions, don't absorb them. So like if you're irritable, and you're about to have a go at your missus or your husband or your kids, and you're irritable, you observe it like, right, I'm irritable, I'm getting frustrated. Why is it? I didn't sleep well last night. My blood sugar's low. I've not eaten yet today. Whatever it is, and process it, deal with it, rather than just start snapping at people and ruin everyone else's day because you're in a bad mood.
Definitely. Look, that chimp paradox sprung to mind when you said that. Listen, have you read that book?
Yeah.
Listen about the chimp and all of that. That's and I'm definitely guilty of that with the kids, by the way. Like, I do believe in disciplining the kids and telling them off for stuff and not letting them get away with anything. But like, I've just got back from Mallorca and I was irritable in Mallorca because the baby wasn't sleeping and because the kids were just being kids. And I did snap at them a few times when I shouldn't have. But I think the difference between a lot of people on that point there is being self-aware enough to actually realise what they're doing.
Exactly.
Sometimes they get irritable at 9 a.m. and by 10 p.m. they're still irritable. They haven't actually realised what they're doing and why they're doing it.
Then that becomes their world, doesn't it? They then start to bask in the energy of negativity.
And that becomes their identity then. And if they do it long enough, they just become a miserable, grumpy old person.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's who they are.
And they love it. Or they're just stuck in it. Yeah, I mean, self-awareness is a huge one. What other like mantras and mindsets? I would say like one of mine would be slow down to speed up. It's one of those ones that nobody will ever listen to. Like nobody will ever listen. We want to go and buy the glamping site, do the hotel, but slow down to speed up. Like if you actually want to go faster, you need to slow down, look at the systems, look at the business, look at the strategy, and actually by default you will then speed up. So that that's one that nobody listens to.
I agree with that. It certainly at a lot of points, but there's some points where you have to I believe that you have to just act with speed and you don't be reckless. I'm not saying that either, but I definitely agree. Majority of the time, slowing down to speeding up is something that nobody will really listen to, but it is needed. Yeah, because if you get the foundations right, when you build this house, it ain't gonna fall.
And if you want to make money, one of my mentors said it to me, and I didn't listen. But like he made tens of millions of pounds twice over, and he did that. Slow and steady wins the race. Whereas I would probably go running off and then have to clear out the mess. And it is usually the better way. But equally, the opposite is what we call SOI, which is speed of implementation. Like bounce back loans. When we heard bounce back loans were getting released on like the Friday, we already had a brief created ready for the Monday morning, and every single one of our property entrepreneurs applied at they were getting released at 9 a.m. and our first one got money in the bank at 8:45 before they were even released. Yeah. So it's like that. Sometimes you've just got to move. What other like mantras and mindsets like run through your ears, like lessons you've learned?
Most mornings I write goals down in some form of mantra or gratitude list, and that changes with time, and what's on those lists changes with time and depends on how you're feeling at the time. But I do write things down like I'm the best version of myself in every part of my life, because that applies to everything. If I keep writing that down and I believe that I'm the best version I can possibly be in every part of my life, I'll be the best dad, the best partner, the best businessman, the best property investor. Whether it's true or not isn't the point. Just by you writing it down and reinforcing it in here, you become better just by doing that.
And would you say that is like a vision and something you work towards every day, or is it more of it is just a conditioning mindset where you're trying to, like when kids are told you can do anything you want, and they grow up believing they can do anything they want, and the first time they hit rejection, they're like, it seems weird. Do you know what I mean? Because they have conditioned it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely conditioning myself, but I'm self-aware enough to realize that, like, if I don't achieve or I'm not acting or being the person that I'm saying I am, I know, you know what I mean? I'm not going to get upset. I'm not going to get disheartened or anything. I'm self-aware enough to realize that, but I don't think there can be a negative from you writing down that you're the best version of yourself every day. That can only have a positive outcome.
Yeah, agreed. I suppose it was just out of interest. It was more like, do you feel like you're in that sweet spot where you are the sort of integrity, or the integrity between who you want to be or who you're perceived to be and who you actually are behind the scenes? How closely aligned would you say they are?
I think I'm not fulfilling my potential.
No.
I do believe that, but I think a lot of entrepreneurs have got that in them. They think they can do more. They think they can achieve more. I think I can, talking about sales, I am niching down on sales, and that's coming soon. I do believe that's, I can be more well known for what I'm good at, but it doesn't matter how good you are if nobody knows who you are. So I've got to get myself out there. So yeah, I think I've got a long way to go. I'm certainly not done yet, and I know we've talked about slowing down and doing less and stuff like that. But I might do less in property this year, but I'll do more in other parts of my life. Best shape of my life. I'll do other things. I want to ramp up the online money. So yeah, I just want to be the best version of myself, and I want to keep. I'm not saying like this version of Terry is the best version of me, because then I think that it's just something over there. It's not really. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not a set amount of money. It's not a set amount of property or business profit. It's just the best version of me. So in 6 months' time, if we had another chat, what I perceive to be the best version of me would be different to what I perceive it to be now.
Yeah, I get that.
And I think that's got to keep going. And hopefully I never lose that.
And are you quite content in with the whole sort of aspiration of constantly being happy? Like Jim Rohn says, the secret to success is being happy where you are while striving for where you want to go. And it's that balance of, actually, I'm having a great time today. I'm being the best version of myself that I can, but I'm heading in this direction because I want to get there. Or do you have a restless sense of, I remember back in the day when I was like on my journey, today was like irrelevant. I was looking forward to tomorrow. Like, where would you say you are on that side of the journey?
Definitely similar to you in terms of if you rewind 5-6 years, I wasn't thinking about today. I wasn't thinking about my partner.
When I get there,
nothing. It was all about where I'm going. And that's like, it's not detrimental for your success. It's a positive if you just purely look at it from a success point of view, but it does have a detrimental effect to other parts of your life.
100%.
So now I am very, very content. I'm definitely not complacent. I'm definitely not happy. No, I am happy with my levels of success this far. And I'm happy with my relationship. I'm happy with the way I look. I'm happy with my relationship with my kids. I am happy with that. But that quote you said from Jim Rohn, love that, by the way, is I definitely want more in not just, I want to be a better dad. I want to be in better shape. I want to have a better relationship.
Would you say
with
you've
my
got
partner.
that balance? It sounds like you've got that balance.
I do believe.
You're not wishing your life away thinking, this time next year I'm going to be.
I certainly think from the people that I speak to, I've definitely seemed to have, from what I know about them, a better balance than most people that I meet.
Nice.
Because a lot of people are either really successful with finances and money, but they're in terrible shape, or they have got a terrible relationship at home, and the work loads, or they go to the gym loads, but then they hate the missus or they hate the partner. I love me part. I love Louise. She's amazing. She's a business owner as well. First time I got with someone that didn't actually try and stop us being me and hold us back. She encourages us to do more. I'm really happy with my personal life. Really happy with the way I look. Really happy with the businesses. They can always get better. I want to be in better shape. I want to have a better relationship with Louise. I want to have better businesses that make more profit. I want more properties. I always want more. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
And is that just for the growth journey, or do you think your life's going to change when you get there?
100%. My life will change before I get there.
Yeah, exactly. It's
always changing. And I think part of that, going back to what I said about being obsessed with self-development, I think that helps keep you onto the next thing, but also keeping you, because this conversation, hopefully this has struck a chord with someone to think, I should be happy with where I am today, as well as striving for more. So I'll listen to something like that maybe
also
tonight,
there is
maybe
just
tomorrow.
For those listening, there is that time when, like you said earlier, there's a time to move fast. There's a time for being uncomfortable. If you're carrying extra weight, you're drinking too much, you're not looking after yourself, you're in a relationship you don't want to be in, there is also a time to be looking at it and say, actually, do you know what? This isn't comfortable. And that discomfort will push you forward. Just to finish, let's both end on a sort of mantra, sentiment, quote, something that you would accredit to your success, something that rings in your ears, a lesson you learned the hard way, or something that works really well for you that would help others.
You go first.
Okay.
I need time to think.
I would say, like, just going for the easy ones, which is all about wealth creation, is if you want to actually become wealthy and have the benefits of assets, income, financial independence, it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep. And it's it's not all about chasing those big numbers. It's not all about growth. It's not all about revenue. It's not all about fast cars and mansions. It's like, I made most of my money in periods where I spent very little. Like I've lived off a 50k salary for the last decade, and that still hasn't changed. Yeah, I still live on a 50k salary.
Fair play.
And it's like, it's enabled me then to go out and buy assets, pay down debt. I've only got 28% bank gear, and it's like, but then you get to a point now where I've got a Rolls Royce outside. I go on whatever holidays I want because I've played that long game. For 10 years of keep saving it rather than spending it, I can now spend whatever I want, hopefully, touch wood, forever. So I would say that mindset of, if you want to get wealthy and you want to do it quick, it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep, and play the long game, delay gratification, then flip the switch and have whatever you want. What about you? Let's finish.
I love that, by the way, about it's not how much you earn, it's how, because there's people making 100 grand a year who are worse off than someone who's making 40 because they're spending more at 100. Oh, it's a great one, that, and a lot of people need to hear that, I believe, especially salespeople.
Yeah, definitely. Because that's why they're so driven, because they spunk it all.
Yeah, definitely. What sprung to mind was, again, it's something Andrew Tate said. I don't want to come across as obsessed with Andrew Tate here, but I do love some of the stuff he says, and it really rings true with me. And one of the things that he says is about building your own character. So he uses an example. I think he's 6'4", whatever he is, right? So he says, whether you're 6'4" or you're 5'8", you still have to be the best version of yourself. So you still have to be, you don't have to be, but it's still good to be wealthy, strong, fit, eat well, have a good relationships, be a good parent. So whether you're 5'8", or you're 6'4", you still need to do that, right? You still got to build your character. So whether you look a certain way, if someone's listening to this or watching this and they look a certain way and they're feeling sorry for themselves and they think, I wish I could look like or be like or earn money like that person, but you can just be the best version of you, regardless of what you look like. You shouldn't be labeling yourself with a certain way that you look and saying that you can't get to a certain place, because regardless of how you look and regardless of where you started or where you are now, it's you and only you can change that. You can build, like on I don't play computer games, but on computer games you build on The Sims, right? You build your character, don't you? Build your house and build your world. You can still do that regardless of where you started, regardless of where you live, regardless of how much money you've got right now, regardless of the way that you look or your age or your weight, any of that. You can still, but you've got to understand that it's up to you. No one's going to come and just give you a six-pack or give you £1 million. You have to do the hard work over a long enough time frame, like you're 10 years to get here. Like, everyone wants it now, and they'll be hating on people who are already where they want to be. But everyone at the top started at the bottom, right? Everyone at the top was wanting on the first ever property, the first ever business, weren't they?
And there is that conditioning piece, just to finish, is like with exactly what you're saying is, I think, I can't forget who it was on a video yesterday, and it said, like, you want to be in a niche of one, which is like, you are the only Terry Blackburn, I'm the only Daniel Hill. Definitely. And we've got our strengths, our weaknesses, we've got bits of our body and our face that we like, bits that we don't. But if we just absolutely own it, like in the studio today, I said to Josh, the last 6 rounds we did, I look really shiny. I said, have I got really greasy skin, or is it like the studio? And he goes, does my face look shiny? And I said, no. I said, so it's my greasy skin, is it? And he goes, yeah. So I was like, okay, fine. So I took a picture, I stuck it on Instagram. I was like, apparently I've got the shiniest face that ever existed. Because it's like, if it is what it is, you just go for it,
Exactly.
So you just own that space, be yourself. Everyone else is taken. Absolutely banging. Terry Blackburn, Daniel Hill, 6 rounds. Been a pleasure, my man.
Thank you. Likewise.
Nicely done.
Cheers, mate.